It is a wonderful day today, but today is Financial Friday. So we're going to get into the comfort zone, we're going to get into hedging, and we're going to get into the mental side of the peso. And there's a treat in here for you. I think you're going to like this one. It really resonated with me. Financial Friday. Let's get right into it. Comfort zone. You got to get out of your comfort zone. Lynn and I went back and reviewed videos from a year back, and then fast forward, didn't look at anything in the middle, and then looked at it now. And what we noticed, a lot of guys are still asking the same old questions. Now, the question comes out of all of that, how many of those people are still working and they're still trying to dial in for the day that they do retire, versus how many are just sitting on the fence and can't pull the trigger? And getting out of your comfort zone, wow, that's not easy, guys. This really isn't. It took a lot for me to get out of my comfort zone. And when I pulled the trigger to go and visit Lynn back in 2011, January, it was not easy. It was tough. And where we agreed to meet and all of that sort of thing so that she could walk me through the whole thing, oh my God, it was not what it turned out to be. Yeah, it was a nightmare. And luckily, just out of luck, we ran into each other. So, but get out of your comfort zone. There's always a way. Sitting down and just taking a deep breath is sometimes the best way to get through that comfort zone. Booking the ticket is huge. And right now, you know, I've been saying it the last few days, I do not care what the flight costs are. Go. Get your bank account set up there. I can't stress that hard enough. If you're not there yet and you do not have a bank account there yet, go. Get this bank account set up. It offers you the opportunity now to send money. And let's face it, after you've been there for a little bit, you decide it's not for you, you close out the bank account and you go home. No harm, no foul, okay? But you got to get out of your comfort zone. If nothing else, it sets you up for the next country that you might want to try, okay? Or simply relocating in your own country. Some people can't even relocate to a new town, right? So it's not easy, but you got to get out of your comfort zone. Later in the video, I'm going to talk about another vlogger who's just put up a video, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit of detail. But guys, if you're finding this content to be helpful, please subscribe, like, comment. For Lynn and I, we will never ask you for any money. We will not do that, send me some coffee money or whatever it's called. We won't be doing any of that stuff. That's just not who we are. What we're trying to do is pay it forward. I'm a big pay it forward kind of guy. And like I said, if you were coming to Cebu and the timing was right, I'd come down and pick you up, okay? Spend a day or two with you and then get you on your feet. But that's just who we are. And so the comments would really help though, because we've got a lot of experience. You know, we've gotten out of our comfort zone. We've moved to different countries, Lynn and I, you know, back forth. And yeah, we've just, you know, we've lived high end, we've lived even with expats on a lower end scale, and now we're building. So we've got a lot of cross section to be able to help you with, okay? The currency rates are in your favor, boys and girls. I don't care whether you're in Canada, US, which are hopping good right now, but we did not use that as our influence when we sent money back in April, when we did not see these rates at all. Can I say that we left money on the table? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have to work within your threshold. You have to set your budget. Hopefully you're living on your budget below your threshold and you're able to save anything that goes above the threshold, or even below the threshold, do some saving. The kicker is you've got to have this money ahead. Now, I'm going to dive into this whole thing of hedging. there's a couple of vloggers out there right now that are citing this and that, and this influencer says this and that, and we're apt to see this with the currency rates and yada, yada, yada. With no caveat to say it could go against you too. World stuff can happen just like that. It could. And is it worth it? Because we all know that there's going to be lean times in the exchange rates. And if you're living on the bubble and you can put away some savings, then even if it does go up and you think you've left money on the table, that's not leaving money on the table. You still made more money than the threshold. And remember what the threshold is. It's the medium of where that currency wants to sit. And only influence in the world has driven it to these other highs. If you think that Europe and the Great British Pound are going to stay low, no, they're just at their medium right now. They're going to see higher. So for you Europeans and Brits, go set up that bank account. Because if all of a sudden you do see a 5 or 6 peso shift in the rates, you've already got your bank account set up. Bingo bango. So be careful. I'm not saying that these guys are wrong. All I'm saying is that you have to add the caveat there. It could go the other way. Don't get all bubbly about buying the new furniture and all that sort of thing. If you've got extra money sitting aside and you can afford to hedge, that's fine. But make sure that that medical fund and that other stuff is in place. But right now, I can't think of the last time when all the countries that I list below here on the ticker, all of them are sitting with great rates. They're all above the threshold right now. Unbelievable. Even last week when the euro was just a hitch below, Monday, boom, they were above it. So remember, sometimes if in Canada, if I see 41 and I can send it 39.5, I still will do that. If we're sort of on that bubble of sending our money and we need to make sure that we can get through a lean time, I still send because my average is still above the medium. Okay, so that's the kicker. Don't hedge. Get out of your comfort zone. Look at where we're at right now. Book the ticket and just go. Set up the bank account. Spend enough time that you have to be there X amount of time to set up the bank account, right? Because you need to be able to get certain pieces of ID and you need to be able to check with the immigration office as to how long that's going to take right now. Some of that is still lagging, okay? So think about that side of it. Now, Chris, with a vlogger with a channel called A Brit in the Philippines, I'm going to link the end card here. You got to watch it. I'm pretty sure that the whole audio is an overlay, but the video is him actually leaving, getting out of that comfort zone and just going. And I would love to know whether currencies or any of that stuff was even a forethought in his head, and I doubt it. Okay, so it's just time to go. Chris's video, you can even see, well, not see it, but you can visualize it and you can feel in his voice that it was not easy for him to get out of his comfort zone. He had traveled before, but never alone, okay? And we're talking, you know, a guy who's been around the planet for a while. But we all kind of get rooted, and whether it's moving around the world or even just, you know, 3 hours down the road to another city, that might be too much for a lot of people. So, and again, we see a lot of vloggers out there. We've looked at the past and we've looked at the current, and it's amazing how many are asking the same questions. And like I say, I hope most of those people are working and not working or just retired. Wow, go, go. I need to stand for a few minutes. First off, I think I was at the stage of almost burning, so moving into the shade here. But let's rethink the peso. What is the peso mentally? It's big numbers. Big numbers doesn't mean you have big money, right? So rethink that and think about, I always use this story of the Frosty, the Wendy's Frosty. In the Philippines, it's half the size of what it is in Canada. And it's the same price. It's 40 pesos. It's $1 here. It's exactly the same price and it's half the size. It's always good to have a relationship on some of these things, but it's also good to have a relationship with the local costs of things in the Philippines. So if you think that dialing in 100,000 pesos of savings, that might ride you through on your rents and stuff. But what's it really doing for you as far as any emergency might be? Now, the emergency might not be the hospital. The emergency might be a very fast flight back to your native country. So think of it in that term as well. There's a video recently done by Every Man Has a Story. And he's saddened by the fact that this fellow that he met, airline pilot, ex-vet, passed away. Shocked. Now, I don't know if it was an end card or whether it was because I watched the video and it popped up, but then I watched the video of his actual interview with the guy. He's way too young to die, way too young. Like he's left 10 or 15 years on the table. Now, I don't mean to laugh at the catastrophe of all of this, but it is just that. It's a catastrophe. Now, maybe he had a terminal illness. I don't believe there's anything brought up about how he passed away or whatever. But let's face it, 100,000 pesos is not what you think it is. It's only maybe a buffer to get you through a lean time on the exchange rates so that you can stay within the budget that you're comfortable with. Because what's this all about? It's about being comfortable. It's not about when the currencies are down, you're walking around and I don't have as much buying power. Well, you have to budget ahead, and we're all at fault with not budgeting ourselves when we were younger, et cetera, et cetera. And so, there was always a new truck to buy. There was always this, there was always that. But you have to be even more vigilant in the Philippines because a lot of things cost Western money. And so don't think that your hospitalization is going to be chicken feed there. If a doctor knows that he can move to another country because he is an educated person and go through a requalification process and then start making Western money, you don't think that he'd rather just stay home and make Western money there? A lot of them make Western money. I'll give you another example. My father-in-law had a mole up here and is weeping and everything. And I said, oh my God, Lynn, let's get him to a doctor. We go to the doctor. Doctor says 1,000 pesos to have that removed. And we're going, bonus, that's cheap, Meanwhile, back at the saloon, he comes back and he's kind of pale looking. And I didn't think too much of it. He's just had a procedure, right? But I found out later on that then he gets in the room and the anesthesiologist comes in and says, yeah, that'll be 1,000 pesos if you want your freezing. And he said, no. So they whacked that thing off without freezing. I don't know about you, but that's not my courage. So, there's always hidden costs on things, and it's very important to know where you stand. Go sit with a doctor, pay him a few pesos, and say, look, what if it cost me what would it cost me if I had a heart attack, right? Even now I'm stuttering on the whole thought of that because that Every Man Has a Story thing really resonates. So rethink how you think of the peso. 1,000,000 pesos is not a lot of money. It is not a lot of money. Okay, but it may save your life. Now that the markets have closed, between doing that video yesterday and mashing it up today and now checking the rates, there was a pullback. As maybe across the board, maybe 1 peso, but it was a pullback. So remember, there was no gain in the currency rates, no support after the last election, which is typical, right? Typically, there's a boost in the local economy, there's a local confidence and all of that type of thing. And so because the administration's been a little slow on some of the appointments and stuff like that, maybe now they're going to start making some ground. So don't be surprised if there's a big announcement out of the Philippines. It may be insignificant for the world, but don't be surprised if there's little confidence in the peso, and then it starts to gain a little ground. Will it be a big ground? Who knows? But let's see how it goes. Later, Gators, and have a great day.